one, cutting my mic.
Hello, and welcome to Renata, who owns and founded Rome for Kids. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here with you guys.
It's so good. I actually used Rome over the weekend.
Did you?
Yeah. So we went on a bushwalk with the kids.
Nice.
Yes.
And yeah, and it was so good. And I basically spent the evening just before going to bed, just going, right, what are we going to do tomorrow?
Can we go?
It's a public holiday.
Especially on a long weekend day. Yeah. It becomes so handy.
Sometimes you need something fresh, some fresh ideas. It can be so, I don't know, monotonous, just doing the same thing every weekend.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. So so I was going through, and then I was like, how about, because also we wanted to make sure that it wasn't too long so that the kids fell asleep in the car, so we would just so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
You provided the entertainment for our public holiday Monday.
Oh, amazing.
It definitely takes that that added extra decision making off your hands, right?
Yes. Yeah. I find there's often so many cool things to do, and it's either that you don't know about them or it can be like you're overwhelmed by too many options and you can't pick what to do.
Yeah.
So it just helps, like, if you don't know what's around, you can find things to do, and if you're thinking what's going to be, there's so many choices and what's going to be the right one for us, you can narrow it down. We've got filters and stuff. Also, I find, like, for me personally, one of my favorite features is the reviews from other parents.
Yes.
I find that so helpful.
So helpful.
Because I could go somewhere and love it and be like, this was great.
Yes.
And then other parents could go and be like, like, my kids
depends on your kids,
love it.
right?
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, my kids love walking and being outdoors, but some kids don't.
Yeah.
And
I think it's helpful when the parents put the age in the review as well.
Yes,
and so
that's true.
I've got a 5-year-old and an almost 2-year-old. But if somebody goes like a 7-year-old and they're like, oh, like a bit young for my 7-year-old, I think that's really helpful, because I'm like, oh, my 5-year-old loved it,
Yeah.
So the reviews are really helpful.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely love it. So Rome was built 2 years ago.
I know. Wow. I know. We just celebrated our 2 year, our second birthday.
You've expanded substantially since then. I mean, 2 years for a startup isn't exactly a long time.
No. Yeah, well, when we launched, we only covered Auckland. And so I still had somebody I was talking to the other day, and she's like, oh, you have places outside of Auckland. And I was like, yes, we do. Yeah, but I can understand, because when we first started, we just covered Auckland. Right. And now we cover all of New Zealand. And as of yesterday, we are in Brisbane as well. So we've just launched our first Australian city.
That's huge.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's so
because it started off as Google Travel Map to begin with, right?
Yeah. What's that? There's that kind of like famous saying, it's like, if you're not embarrassed by your first product, then you launched too late or something. And I feel like that really, is so accurate for this. But it kind of started because I guess I was going to these places with my kids, and I was sharing, I only had one child at the time, and I was sharing it on social media, and people were just constantly asking me like, oh, where would you recommend in this part of the city? Or do you know a good cafe to go with kids over, here? Or what's your favourite pram-friendly walks? Or do you know any good pump tracks? Or whatever it was. And I ended up just getting all these messages and thinking, oh, wouldn't it be just better if there was like a resource that I could just direct people to and be like, here's all of the information you need. And so I am not technical at all. I built this really terrible website. It's like, it looked so bad, but I built this really terrible website on Squarespace. I built a Google map. It was, with My Maps, and you can pin all the spots. And then I was selling that on this website. I made like a digital download that people could get when they bought it. And
so cool.
Yeah.
It's a good place to start. I mean, not being technical, but you still built your own website is still a huge jump. Most people would say, oh, I really need this, but I can't build it, so nothing's going to happen. So that's a huge step to have taken. And was it, like, what clicked? Was it just when you started posting about it on social media? Like, what was the drive to do that?
Yeah, I think... I don't know if I've really spoken about this before, but I actually really wanted to be like a travel, like inspirational kind of content creator around like international travel with kids and like what to take on the plane with you. And like, I really wanted to share that kind of content. And we lived in Auckland, and I'd share like, oh, here's a great cafe I went to at the weekend, and it would get like 100,000 views. And I was just like, it's not really the content I'm wanting to take off, And I remember talking to my partner at the time, and he was kind of like, well, like, people obviously want to see that content. Yeah. And so I kind of lent into it, even though I didn't want to get boxed into just being things to do in Auckland with kids. True. And that seems ridiculous now, because it literally is my whole personality, things to do in Auckland with kids. But at the time I was almost like a bit resistant to lean into it. And then, every time I did share somewhere really cool, like a great pram-friendly walk or something like that, it would just always get really great engagement. People were sharing it, they were tagging their friends, they were saving it. And I just realized, whether or not I want this to be my niche or my personality, like this is content that is really helpful for other parents. They're clearly wanting this information.
Absolutely.
And I kind of just leant into it and was like, all right, we'll just do this. And so I think for like a year, I posted every single day with like a recommendation.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was
dedication.
Yeah, it was hectic, and I had my daughter was at kindy 2 days a week, and I was working 20 hours a week and just like paid, like a normal paid employment, and I was building this map on the side, and I was posting content, and every day that I was with my daughter, I'd be like, where are we going to go today to explore somewhere new, to get some more content, and to like have an adventure. And it just really was resonating with people. And then when I built the Google map,
such a good idea.
Yeah, there was the response to the Google map was really great. And even looking back on it, it was quite a terrible product. Like it didn't have any photos. It didn't have like reviews. It was kind of like a sentence or maximum 2 sentences.
But it worked.
Hey, it's better than what we currently had before, right?
Yeah, and it was like an overlay. So when people opened Google Maps, it kind of just sat on top of their Google Maps, and so they could see where they were, and then from that I was like, this would be way better as an app. This would be way better with like more functionality and being able to search for places and have filters and have photos and reviews and everything else. And then I was like, oh, let's add events into it as well. So you can not just find places to go, but also events that are happening, play groups or like pop-up things.
So cool.
Know what's happening. And then I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if... do you remember the old like entertainment books?
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we had like an offers section with like discounts and people get discounted entry or free coffee here or something. And so we brought the offers into it as well. And now it's kind of like evolved into what it is.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool, honestly. I just think because there's so much information out there.
Yeah.
But it's disjointed. Yeah. And to sit there and Google search, and then you've got to click on the right things to read the right things. And it ends up taking so much space. So just having an app in the palm of your hand with all of that there.
Totally.
And you can filter. It's brilliant.
I remember so many times wanting to go out with my daughter, and I'd see, somebody would recommend a place, and I'd be like, oh, that looks great. And I'd put it into Google Maps and I'd open it up, and it would, Auckland's so big. It could be like an hour and a half drive away. And I'm like, it's a bit far. Like, we're not going to drive an hour and a half to get a coffee, And so it was always this frustration of I'd look at blogs of best cafes to go with kids in Auckland or best brunch spots with kids in Auckland or whatever the blog was, and I'd be like, these places all look amazing, and then I'd have to go to Google Maps and have to plug them all in and see where they all were.
See which one was closest. And
and none of them were ever convenient. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll like try and save that or remember that for another day, or I'll come back to that maybe when I'm in the area or something.
Which you never do.
And so I was like, you really need to be able to see where you are and what's nearby. And especially when you're with kids, like if you're out and they're hungry and everyone's losing it and you're like, I need coffee, you need some food, we need to have a play. Like, we just need something now. You don't want to be traipsing across the city to try and find something.
Not with hangry kids.
No. Or hangry adults.
I was about to say, it's so
adults.
True. I think it's actually just being able to have it all, just one... so it's not going onto Google and trying to find all that information. It's actually just one app that you can just open up. Is just a game changer.
Totally. And exactly as you said, there's so much information out there. There's blogs, there's other Instagram accounts. There's Google reviews, although they're like really painful to sift through.
Painful.
But there's all this information really does exist out there. There's council websites. There's so many things. But like when you've got kids, I find it hard to even have time to have a shower in the morning or like do basic life stuff.
Because you're also making decisions on what they are going to wear, what you're going to wear, what you're going to pack for lunch in your lunch boxes, what you're going to make for dinner when you get home. That's going to be easy, Like there's so many other decisions that you have to make during the day. If you can just have it easy, that takes that pressure off.
Totally. Yeah. I think the other thing for me was like when I first became a mum, I found that shift of going from no kids to being a mum really quite jarring. Yes. And that like loss of, I guess, spontaneity in my life. I used to be able to message my friends and be like, oh, let's go for brunch or let's hang out, let's do something fun. And suddenly my life revolved around this like little person and trying to find things that were fun for them. And I was just like, I also want to do things that are fun for me. I also want to have like an element of newness in my life, like going and doing something that's also new for me, whether it's a walk or going to a new cafe or even just like going to a new playground, and it's just a change of scenery.
100%.
And so when I was doing these things with my daughter and going to these places, it was really also because I needed that. Yeah. I didn't want to, we mentioned this before, like it can be quite monotonous.
Yes.
And I was like, I want to go somewhere new. I want to be able to like meet my friends for coffee or
I want a different pastry.
Totally. I want to go for a bushwalk and know that in 20 minutes will be over because it's a really short loop, and like we can have some time outside and not have to
I want to be active but not that active.
Yeah. I want it to be long enough that she can walk and doesn't get bored.
Also exactly. And that you don't have to pick her up and carry her about 80% of the way.
I was about to say, or is pram friendly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I find for me, there will be, especially at the weekend, you get up in the morning and it's almost like, how fast can we get out of the house?
100%.
Because otherwise they just go feral. They're climbing the walls or climbing over me.
But also you're looking at your space and you're like, dear God. This is going to bug me for the rest of the day if it doesn't get cleaned or fixed or sorted or something, right? So the
need to get
you're
out,
the less you can focus on what's happening in your
You can ignore the mess at home when you're outside. Outside, out of mind,
Totally.
Close the door and we're off on an adventure. Don't even think about it.
Exactly. And hopefully, if you stay out long enough, they'll fall asleep in the car ride home.
I mean, that's
it's tough. But I mean, it's one thing saying there should be, and we're all using it. We're saying it's great. It's one thing saying, let's have that, let's build an app. It's a completely different thing doing it.
Yes. Yeah. And can we just appreciate the fact that she mentioned paid work in the beginning?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, because this isn't paid work.
Yeah.
Starting an app, building up, you're more paying into it, right? Trying to get it up and running. Yeah.
And I guess from our experience, it's very much we worked to pay for the app that we were building. What made you go from this would be nice to have to let's go all in and let's create this.
I think there was like a few factors. So obviously I had this existing map that I had built. I also had started to build like a little bit of a kind of community online. I kind of had almost like an audience ready to go in a sense. Like I was solving a problem for them. And I talk about this quite often where I think that a lot of people who start businesses, they think like, this would be a great product to have. They build the product, they make the product, and then they're like, now I need to go and tell people about it and try and find people who want this product, who also feel these pain points. And I think that that's a lot harder than what I did, which is I had this group of parents saying to me, where can we go, where can we go for coffee? Like, what walks would you recommend? And I was like, great. Here's a bunch of you that all have the same problem. I'm going to build a product that solves your problem, and then here you go, You
need to use it.
And so it was kind of like a little bit of, I hate saying luck because I think people work really hard and luck diminishes that, but I think that it was luckier in the sense that, I had built this kind of community online, and I was solving a problem for them.
You still built it though.
Let's
not diminish.
You still went a little bit further than just your, map.
And I think the other thing was that I was also, again, I use the word like lucky, but a developer approached me wanting to help me turn it into an app. I had spoken on social media about, and I think that one of the things I always say to anyone who's wanting to start a business is, I think people have this idea of like, I have this idea and I don't want to tell anyone about it in case somebody copies and tries to do it. And I think that actually if you put your ideas out there into the world, like nobody's actually going to copy your idea and steal it. If they do, they're probably going to do it worse than you because it wasn't their idea to begin with. And also more people are going to want to help you than that are going to want to like tear you down.
Very true.
And so I had been talking about, like it would be really cool to turn this into an app and stuff. And a developer approached me who was keen on getting involved and kind of getting it off the ground. And then again, like the third kind of like lucky thing was that we launched a week before I went on maternity leave. And so a week before I had my second.
Insane.
A week before I had my second child.
That was lucky.
Yeah. Sure. Well, I had like a 12-month runway, right? Where I had a 12-month, I'd taken 12 months off from my paid job.
Yes.
And
I forgot about maternity being a holiday.
Sure, totally a break. Breakaway.
I mean, you weren't doing much.
Second child.
I know. It was just like, into the chaos.
What were you even doing?
I kind of thought, I've got this opportunity now where I can focus on this and I can see how far I can get this. I've got 12 months and I've got the safety net. I've got a job to go back to. So in 12 months time, if I'm in a position where it's not taking off, I can go back to my job. And if, I can hustle really hard for these 12 months, then I can resign from my job and not go back. And so that was kind of lucky timing.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like you've willed it. You sound like a very positive person, the way you look at or see things, with putting things out in the world, in the universe, and, good things will come back to you. So I think you've definitely manifested that. So I don't know if it's luck, but
yeah.
I just like to say, on Soph's point, is that when we started our business, Soph had a 2-month-old. I think Ophelia was 2 months old. Yeah. And she pretty much looked at Ophelia at 2 months and was like, we can build a business. I've got all this free time.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she started moving.
Yeah. I'm doing nothing with my time, Nikki. I'm bored. Let's build this thing. Yeah.
I was talking to another female founder about this recently and how it's actually kind of like easier somehow to build a business or start a business with a newborn. And then they get to like 4, 5, 6 months. And then you're like, whoa. I don't have any time for anything anymore because you're always like moving around and you need what,
And they need to eat.
Yeah. Whereas I feel like my second, his name's Ocean, when he was born, I feel like he slept, quite a lot in the day. Yeah. I'd have him in a wrap and I had a standing desk and I'd be like bouncing him and he'd be napping and I'd be working away and things. And yeah, I don't know, it felt easier somehow when he was a newborn. Yes. And then as he's got older and more active and mobile and he's climbing things and I can't just like pop him next to me. It's definitely gets harder.
Yep. I don't know how mums do the work from home when their kids are older than 6. It's impossible. It's actually impossible. Yeah. We spoke about it in our last podcast. It was more around COVID and how parents had to actually they were forced to do it. But, when you have a toddler at home or even just a 6 or 7 or 8th month old, they're busy. Yeah. They're demanding. Yeah. And then you finally get into something and then, it's nap time. Yeah. I need to go bounce my child for 20 minutes and hope for the best. It's just, it's so disjointed.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, yep. Totally.
Yeah, my daughter also likes to dance around going, play with me, Mommy.
Yeah.
I'm like, what about this?
You're home.
Yeah, like independent play? Like, what the hell?
You've got a million toys.
Yeah. So, it's
hard.
It's so hard. Yeah. And I think you're almost put into this false sense of security. And I actually remember writing on LinkedIn when I had my first. And I think I was a week in and I was working and I had her asleep on like a little like a little pod thing. Yeah. And being like, I remember saying to my husband, like,
this is easy.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, humbled so quickly.
Did you know?
Yeah.
It was,
It's like a false sense of security.
You do. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it like just sneaks up upon you and you're like, holy hell, what the hell?
Yeah. What just happened? What changed?
Yeah. So I think, I don't know how you I know you say 12 months, but how did you manage that?
Yeah.
That 12 months? Because
so I think, a few things. I think my daughter is like the most amazing person in the whole wide world. But as a baby, she was, I hope she doesn't listen to this one day, but she was so hard. She didn't sleep, was just really low sleep needs. She never slept in the car. She never slept in the pram. It was just it was like initiation by fire. And so I think going into it second time round, my son was like, in comparison, he would nap in the pram, for example. So good. And just like little things, like he was a much better sleeper, which made a huge difference. And so I felt like I was really expecting it to be terrible, and it was a lot easier. And I feel like because I was in this headspace of constantly being like, wow, this is so much easier, I don't know, like that kind of played a factor in mentally how I was feeling about it or dealing with it. But I would say that I did a lot of stuff in nap times. When he was still having 2 naps a day, like the first nap, I'd always have him in the pram and we'd go for a big walk. And I got really good at just pushing the pram one-handed and replying to emails. Oh my gosh. And, I would go out and I would like create a whole reel on this walk when we were like pushing the pram, and I'd edit it and I'd post it and I'd like respond to some DMs and I'd do, it's just a lot of one-handed pushing a pram, and he'd be asleep and it would be like 45 minutes or an hour, maybe a bit longer, on a good day. But, and then when he had a nap at home, I'd try and get some work done then. And I stayed up really late, really late. I would say for almost a whole year, I didn't go to sleep before like midnight or 1 a.m. And it was just really, really hard. And I think the hard thing is that like a lot of people don't see how hard you're working in the background. They think like, oh, look at you out for a walk with your baby. It must be nice,
What a
and
good
you're
life
like,
you lead.
Yeah. And you're like, well, it is great, and I'm very lucky, but also I'm working really hard in the times that you're not necessarily seeing. And I do try my best to show that on social media. I often remind people that social media is a highlight reel. They're not seeing, the hard moments. I have been on a journey with how much of my kids I share online. Now I don't share them online anymore, but I used to when my son was first born. And one of my boundaries was always like, I'll never show them in their hard moments when they're having a hard time. I'm never going to get my phone out and start filming them or taking a photo or posting that on the internet.
Good on you.
Nothing that would ever be embarrassing or nothing that I wouldn't want shared of myself. And so I think that people, they look at your life on social media and they're like, oh, and it's like, I also have all that hard stuff as well. I also, my 2-year-old was also having a meltdown and like whatever, but I'm not sharing that publicly. And I think it's easy, out of sight, out of mind. People kind of forget that you're also just a normal parent with normal kids. But, I think, so it was a lot of like late nights, a lot of juggling. I think that the other thing that I always remind people, or I always will like mention, is that I have a very, very supportive partner, and I don't understand why anyone would, this is so controversial to say, I don't understand why anyone would be in a relationship with somebody who's not supportive of them. Like, what are you doing? But I think that the level of support your partner gives you, not just in terms of your work, but your whole life in general, it'll be like the determining factor in how much you enjoy your life and how successful you are.
Absolutely.
And so when my first was born, as I mentioned, terrible sleeper, I was on the verge of having a mental breakdown. I was so sleep deprived. And one of the things that we kind of naturally fell into was that he just took over all of the food, everything related to food in our house. So cooking meals, doing the shopping, meal planning.
So good.
Sean, are you listening to this?
It was just, I was breastfeeding at night. I was co-sleeping with her in the end. She was up all night. I was doing nights on my own. And it was like, how can we redistribute the, and also it helps that he loves cooking, and so that did help. But it was like, how can we balance this load so that it feels fair? I guess I was also like very resentful. I felt like I'd lost my body, I'd lost my freedom. I was so sleep deprived. I was in such a bad mental space. And it was like, well, what can he take over that's going to really make a difference? And that still today is the same, like I said to you guys before we went to the supermarket as a family of 4, just like, I don't know why.
I'm so surprised you did that, first of all.
But because I never go to the supermarket, it was like a novelty because Josh does all of the shopping for our family.
Oh, right. It was an outing.
It was an outing. We went to the supermarket as a family and I bought all the only thing I contributed was buying all the chocolate Easter eggs that were on discount.
Yes.
But
you will never be allowed to go grocery shopping.
I know, never again. But I think that's a massive reason. So when people are looking at like what I've, what I've done over the last 2 years now, I think it's like you have to see it in this context of I've never done it all. I've never been trying to, do everything. Josh has always had jobs where he's at least part-time worked from home. He does like laundry and, he's like a better house husband than I would ever be. Like he is really, really hands-on. And then around a year, we ended up getting a nanny for 10 hours a week as well. And so I think that's the other thing that made like a massive difference, because we kind of got to a point where my daughter was at kindy 3 days a week. My son was down to 1 nap a day, and just trying to work in his nap time was not sustainable, And then I was up so late every evening. I couldn't go for meetings with people. It was just like impossible. And so, we just got a nanny. She did 10 hours a week for us.
Brilliant.
And and so she'd kind of come in the morning, and then I'd put him down for his nap, and then I'd continue working in nap time. And it was a bit of breathing space to get a bit more done.
Okay.
And then, now he's almost 2. He's going to be 2 very soon, and he's just starting at kindy 2 days a week. So we're just like layering. Our village is just being layers are just being added to it as we go.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Because I think that's the other thing. People think that when you need to have a nanny, you need to have a nanny for, say, 5 days a week or something. And actually just having that little bit, like the 10 hours a week, it just means that you can get so much done.
Makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
The big things they say about mums is that when you're given that time, you just work solidly in that time.
You're so efficient.
Because you've got X amount of time to get shit done.
And I think everyone's circumstances are so different, but like for me, one of my I guess like things that was quite important to me was like he's almost 2 and I'm still breastfeeding him, and I still wanted to be able to feed him to sleep for his naps. And so the idea of having childcare that would work around that. So our nanny would come in the morning like 9 till 12. She would be with him. I would get solid work done, and then I would be able to breastfeed him and put him down for his nap, and then do a bit more work, and then I'd pick my daughter up in the afternoon and we'd have the afternoons together. And finding childcare that really like kind of complemented my priorities of like wanting to be a mum and wanting to be you know, like this career person as well. It's just finding something that really works for your specific family.
Totally. I found the breastfeeding part and taking my kids to daycare and finding how it would fit and work out, because neither of my kids took bottles.
Yeah.
So figuring out how to keep them breastfed.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they went to daycare at 6 months, right?
Yeah.
It's young.
Yeah.
They still need that sustenance because they're not eating that much.
Yeah.
And so that for me was incredibly stressful, finding a daycare that would work around when I could be there. So I hear you on that 100%. Just finding someone that will work for you, with you.
Yeah. And I think knowing what's important to you as well, and not letting anybody else tell you what you should be doing.
Yes.
And so, you know, in that case, like, we looked at several daycares before my daughter started as well, and making sure that we found one that, like, supported what we wanted and didn't try to, like, tell us what to do and things. And then I think that's having a nanny. We met with maybe like 3 nannies and decided, you know, we found somebody that we absolutely love. She feels like she's part of our family now. She kind of parents in a similar way. She's got a child who's the same age as mine, so she brings her little boy with.
Oh, so good.
So she has the 2 of them together, and she really supports, you know, me, and I guess like how I still want to be involved or not, you know. I don't know. I think it's just you can find that person that really complements your family and your family dynamic, and that will look different for everybody. So like, you know, I don't want people to ever think like you know, I think one way is like the best way or whatever. I think everybody's support network is different. Some people have really involved grandparents, you know, some people have careers that they need to go back to work earlier. You know, everybody's situation is different. And this is just what we did. Yeah.
Yeah, but it works, right? That's the whole point.
And it works for you and your family vibe. And that's why we built the village, right? So that you could find someone that fits your vibe, or we can find them for you.
Yeah, totally.
And, you know, you have that opportunity to meet someone, because the last thing you want is someone you don't quite feel comfortable around in your house with your kids.
I think it's like the most important decision that you make, who you leave your kids with, you know. It's just like so crucial that you find somebody that has similar values to you, that you trust, you know. And I think for us, like, our nanny now truly feels part of our family.
So cool.
And I think that's just like and I also just think as your situation changes, you can change what you're doing, and I think being open to that. And so for us, we had 10 hours of childcare, and they worked really well for basically a year.
Amazing.
And then now it's like, okay, that doesn't quite work anymore. Yes. So what are we going to do? What's the next step? And we're just kind of layering up our village as we go.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's fantastic. I love that layering up as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that because your kids change as well.
Yeah.
And their needs change.
Change. And then even little things like at the moment trying to navigate when we do swimming for the kids, for instance. Yes. And it's like, do we do swimming? Do we move it to after kindy now, or do we move it to the weekend? Because we actually still want to have our weekends. And all of that sort of stuff means that then we make this big like change for the kids, really. Yeah. But I don't think I realised before having kids how much thought goes into
so
like
true.
Like the hours. Like I could buy
planning.
I could buy something for the kids, but I've been thinking about it for 3 hours, maybe even like a few nights beforehand. You know, you everything, you second guess yourself.
And I mean, we used to project manage, but I've never had to manage something so difficult in my life.
Because are your kids, they're not at school yet, are they?
No, so we were talking,
it's like a whole...
Kids are a couple of days, well, a few days apart.
Are they?
Yeah.
I feel like it's a whole new...
Yes.
It's so much more different than I expected, because my daughter did kindy 8:30 to 3:30, and I was like, that's not that different
similar
to a school day.
Yeah.
But then we would sometimes get there at 9, we'd sometimes get there at 8. Like it was just...
That's what we do.
Yeah, it was so flexible, whereas now it's like you have to be there at this exact moment.
This is when the gate opens.
And then with pickup, like I think I didn't really realise how relaxed I was about, because obviously I had like my toddler at home and he'd sometimes be napping, and so I'd aim for 3:30, and sometimes it might be like, 3:40 or 3:45, and I knew that she'd be fine because she was,
there's carers there.
And her kindy was open till 6, and so it was like, and now it's like if you're not there at 3, like,
to the gates close.
You have to. Well, they send them to after school care at 10. So
they'll
it's like
charge that
$150.
And it's also this idea of like, I don't know if all mums feel this, but I feel this like pressure around like if the kids start coming out and she's like looking for me and I'm
True.
not there,
Yes.
you know, it's like
What
heartbreaking.
trauma is that going to instill in your children,
know,
right?
yeah.
But
I
it
know.
probably isn't. I
I
remember
know.
being left at school several times.
Yeah. Being
Am I
like the last to be picked up.
last
or
to be
something.
picked up,
I mean, you
yeah.
still remember it.
Having to walk home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's been a whole nother adjustment with that. And that's where it's like having this like dynamic childcare arrangement of like,
Yes.
you know, kindy and school and
Yeah.
our nanny who can come in. She's like an extra parent. And so if I know
So
that I'm going to
good.
be doing something that runs over 3 or like, you know, and sometimes Josh works at home and if Ocean's asleep, I might say, oh, can I leave him at home with you? And I'll
Yes.
just, you know, he's asleep and I'll go and
pop
get her.
out. Yes.
But I think it's having that support of, it's not just you guys, you know, we've got these other things. And I just think of it
Other
as like,
people you can lean on and
yeah.
to hold you up and support you where you need
Yeah.
the support when you need the support.
Totally.
Yeah.
This is like a kind of a depressing analogy after you told me that I'm quite positive, but I almost, I
got it wrong.
I almost sometimes think of it as like you're like falling, and it's like, you know, those in like indoor playgrounds, those like netted things,
Oh,
and you can
yes.
kind of go through them,
Yeah.
and the gaps are in different places, and so it's like each layer that you're adding on, it's like an extra support, and so you're not going to hit the ground because, you know, you might one might fall through, but you've got this other layer here, and then if that falls through, you've got this other layer
Someone
here,
else will
and
catch you. Yeah.
yeah, and so it's kind of
Parenting.
yeah,
Full stop.
Yeah.
Every day.
yeah, and then I feel that
It's a
when they
good
start
analogy.
school, you
Yeah.
have other parents become part of that as well,
Right,
and
yeah.
play dates, or you know,
Yeah.
like other parents can be there at school pickup or whatever, and so you're just like continually adding to this
Yes.
this layer of support. Yeah,
Yeah, and it is. It's never ending.
yeah,
Never ending. I actually need to go back because I need to ask a question.
yes,
You know when you said earlier about you had 12 months
Yes.
to before going back.
Yeah.
So what was the outcome?
I resigned.
Yay!
Yeah. So I had 6 months where I didn't earn. I just got my like government parental
Yes.
pay
Yeah.
because I had been in paid employment previously,
Right.
and then after that I didn't take anything for the next 6 months. So I had 6 months where we were kind of like living off our savings, and I was just really trying to see if I could put everything into making some money from Rome, and then just right the last kind of, I guess, like 3 months or so before I was due to go back to work, it had gonna been like this more steady or stable revenue each month, and I was kind of thinking, okay, I gotta try. So we worked out what our absolute base expenses were for
Right.
me to make that decision, and we knew like if I can hit this amount each month, then I can resign, and that can be enough, and we can just hope that it takes off. And so I resigned, and that was terrifying.
Yeah, I bet.
Terrifying, but a
Yeah.
good feeling, almost bittersweet in a way, or
Before I was talking about these layers of support, clearly
Yes.
I love layers of support, because
You
for me,
do.
like that job was a layer. It was like
It is, but it
you know,
is, right?
It is. It's your
it's
safety
that
net.
safety net.
It was
yeah.
this
Time.
knowing if everything goes wrong, I can just go back to this job.
Exactly.
And that, but I think not having that support does push you further in a way,
Yeah.
and knowing like, I need to make this work now. It's no longer a hobby. It's now,
It's now a job.
it's now like I have to make this work.
Yeah.
I don't have something to go back to.
Yeah.
So, it was scary, and it was exciting. It was like a lot of emotions, and I kind of sat with this email written out, and I had known probably, I'd say, for like a month or 2 months or maybe even 3 months that I was going to resign, but still sitting there with this email and pushing send. I was just like,
Right.
what have I done? Is this,
Yes.
am I making a terrible mistake? But no, it's been, that was a year ago now. So I've just had my
Oh my God,
yeah,
so
I've just been
good.
officially self-employed for a year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy, right? Because it goes against social norms. We all grew up
Yeah.
with parents who did the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Our lives, when we got into careers, it was 9 to 5 with
Yeah.
subtle flexibilities here and there, right?
Yeah.
And now, having to,
Yeah.
you've built a startup where
Yeah.
you work evenings, midnights, 1 a.m.s. So it's quite different, but it works for you and it works for your family, and it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, I probably am a bit harsh in my view of like most employers, but I think that like no one really truly offers flexible working. I don't actually think.
No.
I think flexible working
They
or
pretend.
being like parent friendly. It's just like, who are you kidding?
We support
That sort of
you.
thing. Yeah.
You don't have any more leave.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, your
yeah.
child has hand, foot, and mouth. Guess I'll just see you tomorrow then. It's
Yeah.
like, what? you know, so
Yeah.
I think I really wanted to, it's so ironic, and I'm sure you guys will relate to this. It's like, I was like, oh, I have so much more flexibility. And it's like, I do have flexibility, but I work so much harder. I work so much harder.
Because you need it to work, right?
Yeah. And I definitely feel like I'm way busier. And I also think that the difference between being self-employed and being like a founder versus working for somebody else is that you never switch off. And so previously I'd go to work, I'd come home, and I wouldn't think about work again until the next day.
Yes.
Or if I did, I'd be like, oh, it's tomorrow's problem. Like, I'm not going to worry about it. Whereas now it's, you know, I'm always getting emails. I'm always like, there's always things to respond to. There's always things to be thinking about. If there's like a problem that I'm kind of sitting on, that doesn't, I can't turn it off. I find it so hard. I'm trying to get better at putting boundaries in place around like when I'll work, when I'm, you know, with my kids. There's this great saying that I love, and it's like, be where your feet are. And so it's like, if my feet right now are in this room talking to you guys, and this is all I'm going to think about. If my feet are in the lounge with my kids at the end of the day, then that's where I'm going to be.
I love that.
If I'm in my office, at my desk, my feet are here, that's where my brain is. But it's
focus.
Easier said than done, but I'm trying to work on it.
Totally.
Yeah, mine are notification pop-ups. The moment I get, if I've got my phone in front of me and a notification comes up, that's it. I've lost. You've lost me. I'm like in it.
Yeah.
But I'm exactly the same. I kind of feel like I need to set better boundaries for myself, and I love the idea of the layers of support. That's actually got me thinking about what I do in the future. But I think that one of the biggest things is that, just exactly what you were saying, employers look at employees as nothing. Sounds harsh, but people that work for them.
Yeah.
Full stop. And time is money.
Yeah.
And so when you are paying a salary, that person comes in, does the job, and leaves again. And I think needs to be a lot more in the fact of that flexible working, where you say, well, look, if the work gets done, give me my deliverables and I will deliver. Maybe actually that is...
And we will support you.
Yeah, that is the best way to do flexible working, because you're right, otherwise people come in and they leave. But yeah, it's definitely not the easier path, is it?
No.
Running your own business.
It's not easy. No,
it's not. There's nothing easy about it. Yeah, I think that's... it might look easy from the outside. I think people, especially with social media, you know, I think people look at it and they're like, oh, it looks nice. Like, you know, I've got the flexibility to go to like, catch up with a friend for coffee in the day or something, or I've got, you know, there are these things that are so great about it, but there's also just so many things that are really hard. And that's not to say that, you know, I'm not trying to complain about it and be like, because I think I want to acknowledge that I'm like grateful for it, but also I think especially on social media people look at it and they're like, oh, it just looks so like nice and easy, and you're like,
you put it together in 2 seconds.
It's like, oh,
how hard can it be?
Like, you didn't see me crying at 2:00 the other night because like I was having a breakdown over, you know, whatever it was. So I think it's just, I don't know, social media can be such a highlight reel.
Totally. Totally.
100%.
Well, speaking about that, I want to talk about your messy moment of the week, if you don't mind, to finish off our podcast for today.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier, and I don't think it's like one specific moment, but I'll share with you what my week has been like. Feels like it's been like all a bit messy, but I mentioned before, my 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old, is starting kindy, and so we've been doing kindy transition visits, and the transition visits have been in the time that we would normally have our nanny come, and so I haven't had any childcare, and so that's been going on. And then after his first day of his first visit, they gave us a call and said there's hand, foot and mouth in the baby room that he was going into.
Always happens.
I know.
It's like, one day,
I know, they were like, oh, just by the way, you know, like he was in today, and just letting you know, we've had like 5 cases in the classroom. And I was like, okay, cool. And then and then he's supposed to be doing Mondays. This is week 2, so his second ever week of last week we did visits, and this was his second ever week, but Monday was a public holiday. And so he missed his day on Monday, and so he ended up having, you know, they say in those first visits they want you to come like fairly frequently. But he ended up having, you know, like 5 days or something where he hadn't been, and then he was meant to go back today. And then I had the podcast with you guys, but normally my partner has the car on a Wednesday. We have one car and we share who has it. And so I was having to liaise with him, like, how are we going to do the kindy visit this morning, and how are we going to do getting me coming into the podcast, and how are we going to do him with getting into work in the office, and our nanny isn't around, you know, and so all of these different things. And so it wasn't like one moment, but I feel like this week has been the juggle has been so real. And yesterday I missed a meeting that I was supposed to be in.
Oh, no.
And I got a phone call afterwards like, hey, you weren't in that meeting that you're supposed to be in. And I think it really just sums up how I'm trying to juggle all of these balls at the moment. And this week, because I haven't had that childcare, I've been doing the transition visits. Everything's been hectic. It's been like a lot of balls are getting dropped.
Yeah.
So it's not a specific moment, but I would say like this
the whole
week and last week has been really, it's felt really messy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you there.
Yeah.
It's felt like, sorry to interrupt.
No.
It's felt like I'm the type of person who quite likes being like, this is my working time, and then this is happening, and then this is happening. And this week it's been like, okay, so this 30 minutes is going to look like this, and then there's going to be like an hour and a half that looks like this, and then this is going to happen. And it's like all different people getting involved. And so I took him for a kindy visit this morning. We left at 10:30. My nanny came over to be with him.
Amazing.
I jumped in the car to come here. It's like really, it's truly a team effort.
Yeah.
It's worked out by just skin of the teeth vibes.
Yeah. No, but it does. It always works out, you know. And then you look back and you're like, yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
You know?
And you can breathe and you're like, well, that actually wasn't so bad.
The idea of it is always worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you do need to take out this Friday, I think.
Yeah, you need to have a break.
No cooking.
Yeah. I think that's one of the interesting things is that everything runs, you can map it all so that everything runs like clockwork, and then the moment that one little thing like one little thread comes unraveled, everything unravels. And you're just like,
it's domino effect, right?
Yeah, because you're just like, how did this happen? Like,
now what?
Everything was all organised, and that's
look at the plan.
I know.
Exactly.
I'm like, but it wasn't in the calendar, you know? Like, what do you mean?
That is actually a conversation me and my husband have on a frequent basis. It's not in the calendar, so it's not happening.
I sometimes send Josh a screenshot of our calendar where he's accepted it, and I'm like, actually 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday you accepted this in the calendar, so
this.
You knew
know
that it was
about
happening.
it.
No, but live and die by the calendar. If it's not in there, it's not happening.
Totally.
Yeah.
It has been an absolute pleasure.
I feel like we could talk for so long.
We really could.
Ages.
Really could. I can just looking at the timer and I'm like,
correct. What did we tell you?
Otherwise
20 minutes.
Okay, part 1 and part 2 maybe.
Yes.
Sure.
We could definitely talk for hours. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been
so nice to chat with you guys.
So good to have you on. We really appreciate your time today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll have you back some other time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Cut. Lovely.
Yay.